All right.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to episode number 125 of the Lift Free and Diet Hard podcast. I'm Andrew Coates, and I've got Adriell Mays here today, and I've really been enjoying Adriell's media. You and I popped up on each other's social media a while back, but then you were on Luca Hocevar. Luca's a good friend and a former guest on his podcast, and so I'm, kind of going down the rabbit hole of the stuff you're involved in. It was a really cool story. I'll actually direct people to go check that one out too. And you're very much like my recent guest, Marcus Martinez, who knows you, has a lot of respect for you. And you guys are OGs in kettlebell performance. You guys are like the big names in that space, education about kettlebells. You've got your own podcast, the Evolution Podcast. Man, you've really built some cool systems. Like, I'm really impressed with how you built up the business side of stuff with your app. You got a ton of programs. You were on like Mark Bell's podcast last year. Like, you're getting a lot of positive attention. So
Yeah.
you're absolutely crushing it. So welcome, man. It's great to have you on.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. All right. So I love the whole brand and media side of stuff. I love digging into how people built it, what inflection points were key to their success. So I want to see what's the basic stuff on an everyday level that goes into having built that brand, that media following, and sustaining it and leveraging it.
I guess it was just keeping up with it. I mean, for a while, I really didn't have a system, and it was just like, I guess after so much time, I created so much demand that I was just like overwhelmed with the amount of support that people wanted to give me, and I just didn't have the system in place to really kind of give that out. So I guess for a while, I guess it's just to what I feel like helped me the most is knowing that it was wanted made me like motivated me to like create something that was good. So I had to really like it took a lot of time, I really put a lot of time into it. But the fact that I knew people were like dying to have it motivated me to really put something good together and continuously give people what they were asking for.
I think a lot of people get caught in imposter syndrome because on Lucas' podcast, you talked about early on. I think you kind of just like figured a lot of stuff out as you went, as opposed to, had a lot of like formal coursework and training and like the technical sides of, strength training. You were just putting people through fun workouts. They were getting great results, and they're walking away telling other people about it. Hey, you got to go check this guy's stuff out. And I mean, that's kind of how you build. And then I think you found all this stuff later on. And I think a lot of people come out of whatever space they're in, social media grows, whatever, and they just get crippled by imposter syndrome, thinking, well, I'm not worthy of this. I don't. Was that ever a thing, or did you just say, nah, I'm just gonna, make sure I serve these people?
Um, Maybe a little bit in the beginning, but I started to, I mean, you start to get some belief like I can be this person that these people believe I am if I just put the work in to get the knowledge and help them further along than what I know. It's more so it was just like I know what I know now and I can teach you what I know now. And as I learn and I grow more, I can continue to give you more. So it was like, all right, I understood that system of I can only give them what I have. And if there's more to be had, I need to go learn more and I need to provide more as I go.
So where were some of the places you were going early in your career? Maybe it was like people and resources or courses or what, but what was your approach to actually going and getting more info, learning more?
So I feel like I was fortunate enough. I worked for Equinox when I was training, when I was in my like personal training career. So I had a lot of different people that I thought were like brilliant within the company that I could like bounce ideas off of and like read from. But it was no really. There was a couple of books I read on like it's funny. It's like it was books that were like based in China, and it was about how like nomad, like different people live like such a like basic life of like hunting and like exercising and like movement. So I started to explore some of that stuff to figure out like how can we dial back and think more so like outside of gym, like how were they fit before they had like weights, and that's when I really got into like it was just the movement. And, like it was really about like the movement of your body in different planes, exercising and it wasn't really weights involved. And that's when I got kind of obsessed with like working with different tools that allow me to move my body in a way where I could really express myself and explore different areas where I felt limited and kind of go in that route. And I found that it connected with a lot of people because a lot of people take equipment away, especially with the older clients that I was working with. They just needed to move their body, like to not be in pain, to not like, yes, lifting heavy was the goal, but a lot of these people were just like broken and like aches, limitations. So it's like, how do we get these people to be able to move freely? And working with those people made me really explore that.
I guess when you think about it, because I don't know how many people listening have ever paused to think about it, but when it comes to a lot of equipment, I mean, barbells, machines, and this is not to criticize this stuff, but effectively we put ourselves in the setup and we move within the setup, as opposed to taking tools and having them as extensions of our body. And one thing I've noticed is I'm not a strong kettlebell guy. I'm not, but I admire people who are brilliant with the stuff you guys can do. Kettlebells effectively become an extension of your body because they can move in a flow. You know, there's a lot more flow to them. And I think, well, a lot of people are intimidated by the idea of kettlebells because they don't know how to use them because they're, in their mind, there are these awkward things. So what would you say, because I see you smiling, so I think you agree with me. What would you say to the trader who's been struggling to embrace, this kind of like almost like animalistic flow, focusing on movement, and especially using kettlebells as a tool? What would you say to that person who's like stuck?
Um, just see it as something because I feel like what challenged me the most with it is that it exposed me in ways that being on the bar or being on a machine didn't. It really like exposed me to like the lack of stability I had, the lack of balance I had, the lack of like mind muscle connection that I felt I had, the ability to give force and absorb force in a matter of seconds, the ability to make your body work fully for you. So like we spend so much time building muscle and building strength, but unless you play a sport, unless you have some type of performance that you do, we never really get to test and really see what you built and really watch it on foreplay. And for me, kettlebells allow me to do that. It's like I built all this strength, I built all this like ability. Now let me see what I can do physically, like what my body's capable of as far as like complete performance in a way where I can give and take force and be able to move and pivot and keep balance and keep stability and like really be able to like utilize the muscle that I have. Because it's like, what's the point of building it? Just to look at it? Or is it to actually make these things fire when we want them to fire, to be in control of our body and our movements?
I love this because you got me thinking, and I've been sort of, like, me, like I said, I struggle with kettlebell stuff. I'm working on something with Marcus, so we're gonna like put together something basic for one of the publications I write for. But then I see guys like, and I recently met a young man named Keanu Soto, who like,
Yeah.
he's kettlebell guy. So I drop your name right away, Marcus. He's like, oh yeah, I know those guys. And then I think it was last year I met Jared, that crazy trainer, and he's doing all this
Yeah.
wild performance stuff with kettlebells. And then like with you and Marcus, I know that there's a bit more of that blend between there's the performance aspect, but there's also a ton of really practical basic stuff. But these are really
Mm-hmm.
cool expressions of human movement, performance. And I mean, personally, I think that kettlebells are a great tool for power explosive training. There's conditioning as well, things like swings. I love that stuff. But you want to speak to some of the accessible uses of kettlebells, especially why it's important. Like you said, we're really good at building strength, and we're good at building muscle. But a lot of people forget that training power and explosiveness is different. So why is it important we actually train power and explosiveness?
Because it forces your muscles to do something that they don't get to do in that strength training piece. Because you build it's releasing. Think about how much tension and how much force you create when you're pulling like a big deadlift or you're pulling a big anything. When you are swinging bells or snatching, you're kind of like releasing that power. You're really releasing it, and it allows your body to develop more. Like the more powerful I am, I believe I just keep getting stronger. I just keep getting stronger the more powerful I become. If I get heavier snatches, and within that split second, like the force that you're giving off in that moment and you release, it just continues to build. So it's important just because it's more so like the performance side of the strength that you're building. And if you only think about studying for a test, you only study for the test and you never take the test. You kind of like you never really release your body in that way or release the answers that you've been studying the whole time. So that's why I kind of see like the power piece is kind of like the next step. And I feel like it opens more doors for you for strength training and more stuff down the road.
I would imagine that you're exposing your body to different lines of force. I mean, I know that it's very effective to build muscle and strength to do a very, similar movement pattern over time, similar program. But we all know that the moment we go and do something different than that, we go out and we get active, start running around full blast. You get, an aging athlete like me. I'm 45, right? And one of the things I don't do anymore is like I'm not going to play that summer softball tournament anymore because I know what I'll do. Right? There's no like warming up into it and weeks of graduating exposure to the amount of volume, the stuff we tell our clients to do. It's full tilt, right? And then because it's been a few years since I've done this, but what always happens 2/3 of the way through, I definitely got a pulled hamstring. There's other shit. And then of course there's shit that's sore for 5, 6, 7 days, right? But I think that it's just about giving a more robust training exposure movement profile to our people. And something I'm really big on too, and I think medicine balls are also a good one for this, is as we get older, and a lot of us deal with older adult clients, people lose power. They lose explosiveness faster. And that's a training property that is distinct from strength. They are not the same, and they do need to be trained differently. And I want my older adults not just to be able to express strength. I want them to be able to express power and explosiveness relative to, everything. Like people have this idea, oh, you shouldn't do that stuff with older adults. You shouldn't have them on the ground because they're fragile. No, you got to have them moving on the ground because they fucking need to maintain that ability, right? They need these skills. So instead of treating them as though they're fragile, we actually want to make sure that they're getting graduated exposure to these things. And I mean, it's opening my mind more and more to, right, getting outside the box of the way that I've always done the training and trying to use more of these sort of tools. So obviously you're here because I want coaches listening to actually go to your stuff and check out your page and absorb your media. What would you say to the coach? Like, how would you get someone started down the road of learning more about kettlebell training, getting into stuff like, I think most of us probably know the farmer's carry with the kettlebell, and sometimes we'll do a row with it. Bullshit. But maybe swings. Maybe they're butchering their swings. Maybe they're pretty good. But the next step, the cleans, the snatches, some of the other things that you think are really practical. How do you get the coach to that next level? And are there any resources that you have or you recommend?
So like learning, and which is weird because I know you guys are big like education guys. I didn't really have the bandwidth of learning from like the Strong First or those certifications. Like a lot of stuff I learned from kettlebells were just through myself and just constant repetition and motion. But when I approach it with clients and I want to introduce it, it's always introduced as it's just the tool, like we talked about. Like we would just start using it in a way that we would use other equipment. We'll deadlift with it, we'll squat with it. I get them used to holding it in different positions, the rack position, the overhead position. So now they understand what it feels like to hold it in those motions. So now when we start to have them swing and stuff, they understand how the bell moves, where the weight is carried at in the bottom. Like they understand the gravity of it. They understand how to carry it. So it gives them the confidence to be able to know, like, I can do this swing now because I understand this bell a little bit better. So with that, the programming piece of it is just programming the split squats, the lunges, the overhead press, all this stuff that you would do with other equipment, but allow them to use the kettlebell because now they're going to understand this piece of equipment. So now when you go to teach them to swing it, to deadlift it, to clean it, they have a little bit more confidence. It's not as scary because they've been working with it. They've been doing everything with it. They've held it overhead. They picked it up. They rolled it. They've used it so many different ways that when you ask them to do it this way, this is just another range of motion that they practice.
That's brilliant. And like, that's so fundamental. And yet, like, you don't even hear trainers talk about this stuff because we take for granted that people are supposed to feel, you know, barbell's a barbell, dumbbell's a dumbbell, etc. But that actually makes sense. I'm smiling here, and I think this is great. Okay, I want to pivot a little bit. We can talk about kettlebells all day, but I also want to dig into, you know, some more of like just how your career grew. I always like were there any like really key inflection points along the way? Something that happened where media grew, or, you know, you met a certain person, or are there any big leaps of faith that you took? Like you talked about, you used to work for Equinox, you used to do like a lot of one-on-one personal training, I'm guessing, probably small group. Was there something you said, hey, I'm bottlenecked here, I'm capped at my ability to train, you know, people, there's more demand for me than I have time? Did you take any leaps of faith to grow what you grew now?
I don't know if I would call it a leap of faith. More so, I feel like it was more calculated. But during kind of COVID, I kind of pivot from. I started just incorporating some of what I do online, some of what I do with clients, and some of what I do with myself. And I just was putting it out there. Like I was still training in person. I was still building up whatever. And I still had a full schedule in person. I still have a full schedule in person now. I just love in-person training. That's where I get a lot of my inspiration from. So I just started putting more out there on the internet. I guess the leap would be just like the vulnerability you go through when you're starting to put information out on the internet. Like you get a ton of feedback, some positive, some negative, but understanding like regardless of what, there is going to be one individual that's going to take something from this. And if long as that happens, it kind of gives you the fulfillment that you need to continue to put stuff out. And I guess I just from there I just continued to put stuff out. Like for me, it was like I'm always working out. I always gonna have some type of something that I can pull from my workout that's will benefit someone that don't understand it. It's because when you think about it from an online perspective, people get online for a few reasons. They're looking for something different. They're looking for something that they've been having an issue with, whether it's a limitation, whether it's a hip, ankle, or something. They're looking for a way to be able to perform these exercises in a way that they haven't been able to. It hasn't been effective for them. So they're looking for answers in a way and simplified. They want it simple. A lot of people want stuff simple. So it was just more so me putting more simple stuff out there and getting feedback from people that they really enjoyed it. And you kind of, my biggest thing when I started, I was like, I don't think I want to be like I want to reach coaches. Like I want coaches to respect what I do, but like the gym population is like the people that actually like really need the less confusion of training. So how do I simplify this for this a person that has no knowledge about what I'm doing and allow them to still be able to reap the benefits of things they wouldn't even understand, but for them to perform something and be like, oh, this helped me so much. I didn't even know it would, but it helped me. So I just started putting stuff out there and it was free content, a ton of stuff. People were asking me for like programs. I wasn't selling anything at this point. So I would just give them what I was doing myself because I knew as they would knew like this would be a big help for me to follow something where I had like a mobility section. I have like a strength section that it was simplified for me.
A couple cool things here. First, yesterday on my Instagram, I literally wrote this, and you basically paraphrased it. I said, coaches, focus on helping the right audience instead of trying to impress the wrong one. And there's brilliance in staying focused on serving the end user, because as you said, there's a hell of a lot more of them than I think a lot of coaches. I noticed this phenomenon maybe 5-6 years ago, and I think it still exists. A lot of coaches wanted to move off the gym floor and not train people anymore. And then they wanted to coach other coaches. They wanted to be business coaches, right? And I think that space got saturated in a sense. I mean, if you're great at what you do, nothing's ever saturated. But then you get all these young people leaning, I like making fun of these kids, leaning on Ferraris who that they don't own the cars, with fake social media following, whatever, in your DMs. Like this week alone, I probably had like 8 people. They look like they're in their teens still, going to help me with my business. I'm just thinking to myself.
Oh, yeah. Those messages drive me crazy.
Right. So, and again, so that space is a goofy space. But what do we see? the people who continue to rise and to thrive and have seen their brands exploded have never lost sight of serving the person who wants the help. And I think Luca does a wonderful job of that. What you did at the start of COVID was not dissimilar from what our friend Don Saladino did, where Don, all of a sudden, he just, hey, the world's shutting down. We've lost, a lot of people are don't have gym access anymore. So Don just started filming home-based workouts, started moving furniture around. His wife is filming him, and he's just creating, filming, sharing for free. And then because of his relationship with Muscle Fitness Magazine and with Men's Health, they both went to him and said, what do you got? So he's pumping all of these workout free programs, videos, free programs to their media channels. And Don ended up getting hundreds of thousands of email addresses. Brilliant long play, right? And people are listening to this, and there are probably people who are like, shit, well, hey, there's no judgment in what you were able to do and the stress and the pressure in the moment of when all this crap happened. And quite frankly, I think we all kind of hope this shit never happens again.
Yeah.
But I think there is an underlying attitude, and it's about there's a great book, Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb. And it's about putting yourself in a position where you actually benefit from volatility, benefit from stress. And you're a great example of having done that. And you had two choices: be like, well, shit, nothing I can do about this, and literally fold, which is okay if that's what someone did. Or it's like, okay, how can I keep showing up and serving people? And the demand was there. People wanted the help. So I like that a lot. All right. So another thing I was really curious about, because I want to do a little bit more of a dive into the client experience, because it's obvious to me that's been a really strong suit of yours. So what's your attitude? What's your approach and philosophy towards creating the client experience, which gets them the results you've been getting and built your word of mouth reputation early and to this day?
More so, and I found this with with programming online. There's a there's a certain way I feel like you got to approach it, and I feel like I kind of figured out what worked for me by like trial and error. The last thing you want to do when you buy a program online, you want to buy something that you're like, oh, I can do this. This is simple. So like there has to be this piece of where I need to challenge people and have to really get them to buy into it. So my biggest thing with fitness is, and I say this a lot to trainers because we demonize people for wanting to do different things. But as trainers, we are trainers because we know how to manipulate things in a way where we know we're still doing the same thing. But for us, this is why we love working out. So my approach is to get people to enjoy what they're doing. And it helps them out in so many different ways because I like with my in-person clients, they love the workouts we do. They don't know what we're doing, but they love them. But because it's such a way that they want to perform, they want to be good at these workouts. So they start to manipulate areas in their life, like they start eating better because now they know if they eat better, they can perform this workout better. And now when you get them to buy into that piece, they started changing their life. But there's a sense of like, I don't feel like my workouts are hard, but it's empowering because regardless of who you are, it's going to change something in you when it comes to the mobility piece, to the strength piece. It's going to force you to like really dive deep and figure out like, I can't do this movement, but why can't I do this movement? And then you start to question like, why am I? And now that gives you something to work on other than just the program itself. And that starts to make you think and makes you look deeper in other areas in your life. And like some of the reviews I get, it's like program changed my life, not just from a fitness standpoint, but it makes me really readdress like different things I've been dealing with in different areas of my life. And I went at it with another approach because this is how I had to do with this program. Like the way I was doing it, I couldn't get it done. It was killing me. So I went at it with another approach and I've been able to figure out and I'm loving it. So they start to apply that to different stuff in their life. And like that's some of the reviews I get. Had this elderly lady, she's like around like 64. Some of the stuff in my programs are like hard, but it's dialed back enough. If you build up properly, you can get it. And she's loving it. Like she's obsessed with it. She constantly emails me saying like she's so thankful that she was able to stumble upon my page and find my training, and I'm thinking like, this lady, she's out of her mind. She's enjoying this stuff. This is like some hard stuff. And she was coming from like not really working out. So I'm like, there has to be like this sense of empowerment for people to see something that's challenging and for them to accomplish it. It's like empowers them for so much more.
Man, this is how we change lives. Like this is literally changing lives.
Yeah.
We all talk about this stuff, right? It's the resilience and the confidence and the self-esteem and the experience of, hey, I was able to shape an outcome and create a positive effect with the inputs. My effort has a direct relationship with the outcome. And when that kind of confidence comes from the microcosm of the gym, that cascades into life, plus the confidence that we feel. Like, I love that. And I like this. I like this lady. This lady sounds great. She's
Oh man, it's just so many, and there's so many individuals like that because it's like they go into it, and the way I preach things is like I'm not the person. Like a few years ago, I got big into running. I was like, I'm not the person that can run a marathon, but like I'm obsessed with becoming the individual that has the ability to do that. So I'm gonna do the necessary steps to be able to do that. So when people approach the kettlebell training, that's how they approach it. They're like, this stuff looks hard, but it looks fun. So I'm intrigued. How can I do it and be able to keep movement fun and free? And they become these people that are able to do it.
And it's obvious. I mean, you radiate not only a passion for what you do, but a curiosity about learning, not just like learning from external resources, but like figuring out as you go what your body's capable of. Was that always part of who you were, or like, did the career bring that out? Like, where does that come from?
The career brought it out because I mean I feel like when I first got into fitness, I was obsessed with just building muscle. Like anybody there, I wanted to build muscle and do all this stuff. But I got to the point where I felt like I was strong enough. I was like, what am I gonna do? Keep getting stronger? Like, what else is there to explore in fitness? And I guess that's where the internet really kind of exposes you to people that are flexible, people that do calisthenics. And I'm a competitor as well because I played football my whole life. So, and I have friends in different industries of fitness, yoga, and I like being good at everything. Like, I really like being good at everything. It's something that I figured out in a few books that I've read, kind of saying, and I take this and I use it with clients. It was like, there's one thing to not do something, but to not have the ability to do something, that's something I can't sit with. So like, I don't have to run all the time. But if I want to go out and run 6 miles, I want to make sure I still have the ability to do that. Like, so that sits with me when it comes to like mobility stuff. Like, I don't want to be limited mobility wise. I want to always be able to move in this way. I want to be able to squat deep. I want to be able to lift heavy. So all this stuff kind of like just sits with me. And I'm like, I don't want to lose the ability to do anything that I have the ability to do. So I'm going to train in a way that I'm always prepared to be able to do whatever it is I want to do. Like as of late, I'm really into snowboarding. I love snowboarding. And after a after a few runs, a few days of it, I'm pretty decent at it. And now like I want to continue to get better at it. But I'm going to continue to train in a way that allows me to my body to be able to experience this stuff and not shut down and give out on me and not be able to recognize the movements, but they do because in the way I train, I'm constantly moving my hips in a way and constantly pivoting my body in a way where I can really do these things and not have any issues with it.
That's cool. Every time I work with a client who wants to go off and, golf is fairly low impact, relatively speaking, but they go through a winter of training, they come back and all of a sudden they're like, holy shit, I'm hitting the ball 20 yards farther. Or one of my favorites is when they go skiing. I've got a 72-year-old client. I have two of them that age. One ain't going near skis. That's Larry. Larry just likes picking up heavy stuff. But the other one, he'll go cycling and he likes going skiing. And he's coming back to me saying like his first run of a winter, he goes out with some friends who've done several runs and they do it all the time. He doesn't do it as much. And he's feeling good because he's able to keep up with him. His cardiovascular capacity and his legs are strong and he's able to move well. And he wasn't so crushed that he couldn't go out and spend some time on the slopes the second day. And when people come back and do stuff like that, they're just like, they're so it's almost like that's the moment where they appreciate what they're doing more than anything else. And you create that experience for a client, and that client's going to keep coming back. And you alluded to this earlier, but I really want to double down on this. Like, it's not only okay to create an experience that a client sticks around for long term. I like to teach people to be independent, but as I've gotten into the career longer, I realize that the people I like to work with are the ones that want to stick around with me long term. So they self-select that, because the people who stick around, and like you've been doing, is creating a great experience they want to return to. It's what forms the habit. It's what keeps them getting long-term results. But it also means that you have a paying client for a longer period of time, and that's okay. But when you do that, that's where you get those great long-term results, and everybody wins. And there's nothing dishonorable about creating an experience that someone wants to keep coming back to because they choose to do it.
That's honestly what it's all about. And the more so is like you continue to help them, you continue to build them up in a way where they feel that you're valuable in their life, not only for like their physical, but their mental health. Everything in their body like depends on what you're providing them with just in training sessions.
Absolutely. All right. So again, like I said, it's obviously you got an incredible passion and curiosity for, expanding your craft. But I always like seeing this too. What are you still trying to figure out? Like what are you trying to figure out to take your brand, your career, your business to another level again?
Um, Again, it would be how can I continue to grow and reach people through me pursuing my own like things. So like right now, I'm gearing towards the idea of running a marathon. So that alone, I feel like people of my size and my stature, they don't even think about stuff like that. Like it's just not. So you give people hope, like this stuff is possible for anyone that really puts the time into it and continue to really grow as an individual first. And as I continue to grow there, I'll continue to be able to give more to people through learning experience. I want to connect with more people. I'm doing some traveling coming in June, going to the West Coast. I'm connect with like 3 or 4 different guys when I'm out there, kind of learn from what they do as far as like physical and training wise. And like I just soak up information and continue to evolve in a way where I can just give more and have more knowledge about different ways of learning and different ways of teaching. Like I'm a perspective person. I love hearing, like I like to debate with people, but I like to hear how people approach things because it gives you a different way to look at things. Like I'm curious to know, like, oh, how do you approach this with this type of client or this type of person? I'm like, all right, I like that. That probably works better than what I was doing. So I'm like, all right, that I'm gonna try that out. And when you do that with so many different peoples, you start to kind of create like an idea of just being able to help different people with different experience and different limitations.
Everything about you screams growth mindset and humility, right? Like it's always about, hey, I could learn something, I could be better, I'm curious. Where you get a lot of people, hey, it's very natural to get kind of like rooted in, even I'm listening to you embracing all these things. I'm like, shit, there are things that I kind of box in my mind, like yoga. I'd be like, I think yoga is great. I've never gone and done it. All of a sudden, I'm like, it's like I also am dealing with some like mobility
Yeah.
issues here, right? Like, big dude getting older. And it's just like, man, I admire this. And I think, the coaches listening, especially, it's like if you go through the world thinking, hey, I do not have, it's not the same as imposter syndrome where it's like, oh, I don't know anything, I'm not worthy of it. It's just like, no, I want to stay curious. I want to learn more. I see something I don't understand or I'm not good at. You seem like you move toward those things versus moving away. And I think we
Yeah.
we often move away from things that we think we're not good at because, well, that's the opposite of growth mindset. It's fixed mindset where we avoid the things that expose us as maybe not being as great as people tell us we are, or we come to think we are, and it challenges our identity. And those the fragile nature of ego sometimes. So, and obviously, this has clearly served you very well. And you got me thinking. There's a couple of people I probably got to introduce you to. Do you know my buddy Kenny Santucci? He's been on my podcast before. You know Kenny?
No, I don't. I don't
All right,
understand.
I'm going to introduce you to Kenny off air. So Kenny he owns a gym in Manhattan. Kenny's awesome. And he does this thing. He did it last year called Strong New York. It's a big expo. So it was a conference, but also a lot of practitioners, a lot of group exercise stuff. And Luca spoke at it. I spoke at it. Don Saladino spoke at it. There's a whole bunch of cool bodies. So it's the sort of thing I could just immediately see you dropped in this world, but I'll take care of that off air. And because one of the best parts of this experience is to travel and to spend time with industry friends and people. And you were just saying you went to Vigor Ground and hung out with Luca because you were on his podcast, like I said. And I mean, that man's a wild man. Like the breadth of knowledge, the shit that guy knows. But I bet you any money he approached it with the same kind of curiosity. I bet you he was really curious about learning shit from you.
He was, and that's what made it fun, because as much as I was trying to like learn from him, he has so many questions for me as well. So it was like, it was good. And to go back to what you said about doing that stuff, the thing I would tell people is every time you do something that's outside of the box like that, you learn something about yourself. And I think that's why I become like really obsessed with doing stuff that I'm bad at or that exposes me in a way that didn't before. Is that I learn something about myself every time. Every single time I learn something about myself. And I can't help but continue to seek out those things that exposes that, because each time I walk away better. Better as an individual, physically, mentally, emotionally, and I have an experience to connect with people with. So that is like huge for me.
And what are you noticing? People just keep showing up at your doorstep, asking you to come on podcasts and to do stuff. And that's another thing I like to harp on a little bit is like, there's a lot of coaches who are really hungry. They think, well, if I get on the podcasts, it'll make me. If I get to speak at the events, it's going to, make me. And my attitude is no, just double down on serving people, build great media. Short form social media is great, but long form things that help people, which you're clearly doing. And if you're at least a little bit savvy with your media and you show up and you're supporting and you're building relationships with other people, man, people line up to support you, always asking stuff from you, you said earlier, and things grow. And then all of a sudden you turn around and people, they're asking you to do really cool stuff. Not the stuff where people ask you something, but really they're asking for something that benefits them and not you. This is something where someone wants to do something really cool for you. And that just like spirals and spirals, especially when people see that your energy is giving and abundant and curious and humble. Those things are all key. Where can people find you and your media, more of your stuff?
My Instagram, every goddamn Dre, YouTube, Adriell Mays, website, my podcast, everything on my website, kettlebellfunctionaltraining.com. You can find me there. A lot of my emails are in there as well if you want to connect a little more. Spell
out your Instagram because you said it fast.
Every goddamn Dre.
And it's G-O-T, got.
Like, so it's not, it's G-O-T, not G-O-D.
That's what I wanted to make sure people, because they're going to be looking for, all right, every guy, this guy, where the hell is this guy? No, guys, please go and check out what Adriell's doing. I'm enjoying it a lot. And again, I find you and Marcus Martinez, and it's just more or less coincidence that I had you guys kind of, almost back to back on episodes. Anybody listening, you guys love kettlebell stuff, go check out Marcus's appearance. He's super. And you guys both do a killer job of taking something I think people are intimidated by. You can see some of the cooler, more creative side of things, but there's a lot of stuff that I think is really accessible, really easy. And I think it breaks down the fear and intimidation factor over kettlebells, which we know exists because people look at these damn things and like, fuck are those, right? Like they're collecting dust in the corner in plenty of home gyms and gyms, right? So, and I'm the person who like, all right, well, I'll use them for specific stuff. Like I'll do some swings and, I'll carry them, what have you. But I didn't grow up in an environment where I got exposure to a lot of the Olympic lifting side of stuff. And like I said, Marcus and I are putting something together. And when it comes out, he even wrote this is like, things like dumbbell snatches and dumbbell cleans. You get all of the benefits of the barbell Olympic lifts, but they're so much easier and more accessible to train that way. Whereas like the Olympic lifts are very, very technical, right? That stuff intimidates the hell out of me. and I probably don't have the overhead mobility to do it. That one I'm not going to try to challenge myself on and be like, I'll leave that to everybody else. But you've inspired me. Maybe when I see something that intimidates me, or I think, all right, I'm no good at that, instead of kind of going, all right, well, I'm not going to mess with that, I'm going to probably keep more of an open mind. And this is why I love these conversations. And everybody listening, I really hope you guys will go and dig into Adriell's stuff. And if you are, go follow his work. If you're someone who's new to my podcast because you found me through Adriell's media, well, go listen to Luca Hosavaros. He's had a bunch of episodes. He was on not too long ago. Go listen to Marcus Martinez. Check out the lineup I've got. I've got a lot of really great guests, and maybe you'll want to stick around. Guys, thank you so much. Adriell, you've been amazing. I appreciate your time.